Welcome to Helping Hands. This is where we recognise the positive contributions of the people who make the world a better place. Coming up today...
Wesley Mission has extraordinary services and working in partnership creates an all-rounded service. They all bring their own specialised, unique styles of work.
Wesley Mission works with thousands of people experiencing homelessness.
At every stage of change, at every phase of your relationship, you've got to reconnect at those stages.
The panel discuss how to grow healthy relationships, and we invite you to connect at helpinghands.tv.
Ewadiga accommodate people who need a place to sleep tonight.
It's good to do book. I've brought loads of books and we can do book swaps.
Crisis accommodation, when it's done well, can stand in the gap.
Wesley Mission decided to shut the building down for approximately 16 months. It was a complete entire strip down of the entire building, and we've gone from 76 beds that we're using communal showers and laundry services, and now we have 40 beds, all with en suites.
At Wesley, I am one of the welfare officers. That means that what we do basically is everything from working at the front desk to bringing people in and doing intake assessments with them, but then we also will do things like responding to incidents. We're also making sure that all of the rooms are clean and that we're providing like a welcoming face. I am fixing up the room for the next resident after one of our residents has moved out into permanent accommodation, making sure that all of the surfaces are sanitised and making sure that the bed's all made up and the bathroom as well is also clean. We'll deep clean the room after every resident, so whenever someone moves out into housing or they're in place, we'll make sure that everything's clean and disinfected and refreshed for the next person. Usually we'll be preparing rooms maybe once a day, sometimes up to 3 times a day, depending on how quickly our clients move into their new accommodation. The reason that it's so important to make people feel welcomed is because so many people have been overlooked in their lives, and just making sure that we respect and see them as a person and making sure that they feel like listened and heard as opposed to just being a number. So at this point of the room clean, what we're doing is we're getting the towel and the welcome pack organised, which is just a little amenities pack, and then we leave a welcome card with our name just to make it more personal, and so that they have someone that they can come and talk to. It makes it easy for them to find a person to come and speak to, so they'll come in, they'll see the name's been signed off, they can recognise that there are actually people behind this and it's not just something that is desensitised and impersonal. It's just really exciting being able to come and talk to people, hear stories, maybe even just create a bit of a positive experience every day. It's a really positive place to be.
I've been living here just over 3 months. Whilst I was moving in between places, and then something happened with the trust that I was with, and they asked me to move out, and it was a big bill, and then I had to move to here. So, and that's how I ended up here. Wesley Mission, it's a great filter for those people that have done it hard and have slept on the concrete and all that sort of thing, and what life's got to throw at people, and the disabilities that they can end up with, they deserve to have a second chance in life, and I'm really, really happy to be one of those people. Just when I first walked in the room, it was like a hotel. Very luxurious room it is. It's a really great place. I was a premier apprentice jockey in Queensland, so I had a bad race fall, is what happened to me. I ended up on some medication. I could go on forever about my experiences that I've had in life. I'm not a real shy person and things like that, and I make friends really, really quickly, and to get to know the people, and now they're like family and all that sort of thing, all the staff. They love me to pieces. I'm part of the furniture. I'm sort of the longest person that's been living here, and I've seen this place change rooms and change people until they find me a place.
Don't go anywhere, there's more to come.
Working in partnership creates an all-rounded service. They all bring their own specialised, unique styles of work.
When I first started with Wesley, I was case manager. I worked my way up. My role now is to support the team. My calling, call it what you want, is I still love engaging with these guys.
John, do you know if I could get tickets to go and see the Sixers at the SCG, would you go?
I would.
All right, okay. Leave it with me.
I like talking to them, trying to find out what they need, helping them. So even though a lot of my work is hidden away now, I now deal with a lot more. I deal with housing, there's a lot more meetings I have to attend. This is the nitty-gritty kind of work that I've always enjoyed. Yeah, keep coming back to that as well, I can't help myself.
Oh, hi Anna, I'm just checking to see that you're okay to do the shift on next Wednesday. I'm the Site and Operations Coordinator, so basically I just look after everything inside and outside the building. We've got about 20 staff throughout the building, 17 to 18 staff at any given time, and they work across Edward Eger Centre and plus also throughout the community. On any given day, we could have potentially 400 or 500 people walking through those doors. It could be contractors, it could be visitors, it could be the public, it could be residents, stakeholders, external caseworkers. It's just a continuation, opening, closing of the doors.
Hi there, just the room number, please. Cecil, hey, come on in.
You can't work in this environment if you don't keep it real. One, you won't survive, and two, it just doesn't work. So the team here are really quite extraordinary. They really are, they're amazing. They do incredible work.
Have you met Cecil before? I haven't met Cecil before. Apparently he's an old friend of the lodge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah?
You have to get ready from everything. Could be a crisis, could be ringing for, ringing an ambulance, ringing the police, whatever needs to be. You have to be. There's no guideline. There's no specifically job description on that afternoon. Whatever needs to be done, you just do that. With no boundary or with no any question is support what they have to address.
So I was just mentioning earlier that they need to go to St Vincent's. They're no longer going to be out, they're no longer going to be staying here. They're going back in for mental health.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning, yes.
Is it TA client or paid bed?
Paid bed, and one of the caseworkers please drive her.
What, tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so she'll put it on handover?
Yes. So I flagged it already, and we have to just give the social worker at Caritas a call when she's going as well.
Do we have the Caritas number?
Yes.
Is anyone coming for intake this afternoon?
Yes, so we've got one person coming in. Strawberry Hills referred them through. Basically, it just sounds like they've been rough sleeping for a while, and they've had an outreach team come by.
But if you ever change your mind, well, I'm gonna leave it here behind. I love you, Edward Eger Lodge. I love you with all my heart. I love you.
So you're okay? You can do that?
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
See ya. This is where we keep all our cleaning products. This storeroom services the entire building, internally and externally. laundry detergents, not just for the commercial washing machine operations, but also levels 1 to 5. The residents have their own washing machine and dryers. This is like an automated system where it actually goes into the washing machine. We don't need to manhandle any cups or anything like that. It makes it really simple. Well, this is a particularly big order because this actually also services the kitchen as well. Because we're operational 24/7, we can come down here at 2 in the morning and do the laundry. So we've got the 2 dryers here, the 2 commercial washing machines. This tray here is basically for the dirty linen, and then we've got the folding table, which is over there. So the clean linen's here, and they get transported up onto levels 1 to 5. Each floor has a kitchenette. We also have an area with a nice lounge, and they can sit down and watch their television. On level 6, we've got an outdoor area for the residents to come to hang out. There's a smoking bay up here as well. It's got beautiful seating, it's got gardens. We've got our own herb garden, beautiful facilities all across the building. It's great for our staff to work in this environment. It's very welcoming, it's very warm, it's very fresh, it's new. It's providing the dignity to our residents that they absolutely deserve. You know, some love, attention, and to feel that they are valued and that they're really cared for. We genuinely care for them.
If you are a helping hand or would like to see a helping hand from your local community featured on this program, visit our website and be in touch. We'd love to hear about the people and organisations across Australia who are making the world a better place.
Follow the links to our social media channels, become part of the Helping Hands family, and let us know about some of the helping hands in your local community, wherever you are across Australia. Welcome back to Helping Hands, where we celebrate the people who make the world a better place. Our panel today is Colette Smart, Raewyn Elsgood and Mark McCrindle, who join Laura Bennett in the studio to look at how we can grow healthy relationships in all areas of our lives.
Hello, thank you so much for being with us. On the panel today we have Mark McCrindle, a social researcher. We also have psychologist and teacher Colette Smart and the Sports Chaplaincy Coordinator for New South Wales, Raewyn Elsgood. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Mark, in the research you've done, the rates of relationship breakdown, household breakdown in Australia does seem to be on the rise. Can you give us a snapshot of what's happening in Australian households at the moment?
Sure, we've heard the statistic that half of all marriages end in divorce. It's not quite as high as that. In Australia, it's 1 in 3 registered marriages will end up dissolving. Still tragic, and so that's the situation there. But then, of course, that doesn't track the de facto relationships that break up. They're not part of the statistics. If we look at family households, the majority of household types, that the largest category are families. If we look at all of them that have dependent children, 1 in 4 are single parent families. And that's actually gone up in the last 5 years. And 4 in 5 of those single parents are mums that probably have the toughest job in the nation, but there's more of them. So that gives a sense as to not only the relationship challenges, but then you add to that raising children as a solo, and that tells a bit of a story of challenge across the suburbs of our nation.
Yeah, and if so many of us are experiencing it, Colette, what do you think some of the things are that lead to an unhealthy relationship or one that breaks down?
So that's quite a complex answer and not something I could answer in 2 minutes, but really, miscommunication, not connecting any longer, not having shared joys or interests. And then, of course, we have abusive relationships, which would fall into that category. But essentially, there's this fascinating research. I'm not a historian, but if we look at some of the historians who talk about relationships, you know, around a century ago, relationships were based on practical things, pooling resources, families coming together, power dynamics even. Women were often, not always, but women were often on the losing end of that. What's fascinating is even if you've done year 12 studies, you will recognize the term Maslow. And Maslow is someone who we talk about in psychology, and we look at the hierarchy of needs in our lives. And in relationships, a lot of the older needs were met around basic human needs, having safety, having security. The even lower ones were just having a roof over your head and food. Now it's almost like we've swung in relationships to be expecting someone to kind of be part of that self-actualization, it's called, where they are everything to us. They have to meet every existential need that we have, and that's not possible in a relationship. And so, yeah, I think it's a little bit in between that somehow.
Would you say that a modern relationship is under more pressure than maybe relationships historically?
That's tricky because in the past relationships, we may not have seen abuses you know, being able to be spoken about. But in more modern relationships, we are more lonely. So we don't have that connection growing up with the whole family on the small holding, with everybody, granny and auntie, and everybody helping with the child rearing. So there are different pressures, I would say, and, you know, pressures, financial pressures, two-income households, that kind of thing.
It can be so difficult. And Raewyn, from your perspective as a chaplain, how do you think we can support people who may have gone through a relationship breakdown?
Yeah, I can speak to this not just as a chaplain, but as someone that has had a marriage breakdown and has gone through divorce and remarriage, successfully remarried for 21 years, I must say. But I think I would actually say what we train our chaplains to do is the answer here, and that is to turn up, be present. If you are a friend, you know, you tend to not, you panic a little bit when your friend goes through trauma and you don't quite know what the right thing to say is. But if you just turn up, but don't just turn up and assume you know what to do, turn up and listen. And when I say listen, it means you don't have your own story or your own experience. I mean, you sit there and you listen and you ask open-ended questions to find out what their need really is. And then encourage is probably the third point I would say there would be the most helpful, because you've just had someone stripped away of their self-awareness, their ability to trust, and they need that rebuilt. So by a friend coming in and saying, this is what I love about you, this is what your great strengths are, I think that, you know, that really helps with the building up of your self-esteem again.
Yeah, and when you're in that raw place, it really is tough. But then when you're wanting to build a new relationship, look forward toward a healthy one, what are some of the traits of a healthy relationship? Mark, do you have any perspectives on that? What sort of things say this relationship is one that, I mean, you can't always predict that it's going to go the distance, but at least that it's going to be a good contribution to each other's lives?
Yeah, well, Colette pointed out one of those, which is understanding that we can't expect every answer or solution from that person. But if we're well supported, if we have other people that are a part of our community, if we're in the relationship looking to serve, looking to meet the needs of others and not just seek our own needs, and if we're open and honest, I think that's important with it as well. I would say that it is perhaps taking our eyes off social media and off the perfect sizzle reels of everyone else's so-called relationships, and just recognise that every relationship, because every person is flawed and has deficiencies, but just to be grateful for it and thankful for them. It's not perhaps going to be a movie-type relationship, but none of that is real anyway. It is going to be a real relationship, and I think we've all got to be grateful for that.
I'm so glad you spoke about movie relationships, because there's also research that talks about how we look a lot at violent media as being, you know, not good for us in terms of what we watch, but a lot of the romantic media is actually not healthy for what we have in terms of expectations of relationships. And I think Mark spoke about a lot of that, and so did you, that connection and that listening, and knowing that when change happens at every phase of your relationship, whether it's changing a job, if you choose to have children, aging, at every stage of change, there's going to be changes, and you've got to reconnect at those stages.
Yep, sounds like we all need a nice dose of reality, and that's okay. But thank you so much for your contributions. And thank you all so much for joining us.
If there's a topic that you'd like to see discussed on Helping Hands, visit our website and be in touch. We love talking about the things that make the world a better place.
What do you think of some of the comments from Colette, Raewyn and Mark? And what are some of the things you can do to help foster the types of relationships you would like to have in your life? Join the conversation on our social channels via helpinghands.tv. Fostering the type of relationships we would like to have at home, at school, in public and at work, and being part of a community that shares a common interest often does require us to take the first step. I'd like to encourage you to think about types of relationships you would like to have in all areas of your life and the communities that you would like to be part of.
Let us know about the Helping Hands in your local community at helpinghands.tv. Send a photo or a short video and tell us about your local heroes in 25 words or less.
Thanks to Colette Smart, Raewyn Elsgood and Mark McCrindle for joining Laura in the studio today. And thanks also to you for joining us today. I hope you will join us next week here on Helping Hands.